Robert Keith Bob Orton, Jr. is an American professional wrestler, better known by his ring name, Cowboy Bob Orton. He is the son of Bob Essa and Rita Orton, the brother of Barry O, and the father of WWE wrestler Randy Orton. Orton is best known by his time in the WWF. Apart from the WWF, Orton wrestled for several promotions in the United States, Japan, and other countries. Professional wrestling career. Early career. Orton trained with Hiro Matsuda. After dropping out of college and at the age of 22, Orton made his debut in the promotion Championship Wrestling from Florida in 1972 with the ring name of Young Mr. Wrestling in instances with his father Bob Orton, Sr. They won the tag team title from the promotion. Orton was one of the first wrestlers to use the superplex as his final movement. Orton in his early days in wrestling, he used a gimmick of a masked wrestler known as the Invader. He often used this gimmick until 1976. He with Dick Slater had a feud with Ric Flair. Orton and Slater attacked Flair with an aided pilly driver, which caused Flair a severe injury in the neck, and put Flair out of wrestling for several months. Flair would eventually return in late 1983, attacking both Orton and Slater with a baseball bat. National Wrestling Alliance. After experiencing success in the Florida, Central States, and Mid-South regions, Orton competed in the National Wrestling Alliance in 1980 to 1981 using a Cowboy's gimmick. While he competed in the NWA, he won several matches and earned a reputation as a hard worker and legit tough wrestler. In 1981 he left the NWA to sign a contract with the World Wrestling Federation. He returned to the NWA again in 1983 and captured the tag team titles, but returned to the WWF when Vince McMahon's national expansion began in 1984. World Wrestling Federation. In 1981, Orton competed in the World Wrestling Federation. Competing as a heel and using the dreaded superplex as his finisher, he challenged Bob Backlund for the WWF Heavyweight Championship, winning by count-out the first match. They had a lumberjack match a month later but was unsuccessful. He left the territory in 1983 and ventured to the NWA, where he captured the tag team titles with Don Knodel. The duo held the titles for 2 months before succumbing to Wowie McDaniel and Mark Youngblood. Orton rejoined the WWF in 1984 for what would be the most famous run of his career. He was often addressed as Ace Orton by Roddy Piper, and was Piper's bodyguard. His other gimmick, wearing a cast during his matches, stemmed from legitimately having his left forearm broken in a match with Jimmy Snuka at the 1985 event The War to settle the score in Madison Square Garden. Although the injury healed in real life, the cast gimmick involved Orton on doctor's orders continuing to wear the cast, claiming the injury had not healed. Orton instead would use the cast to his advantage, striking his opponents behind the referee's back. He won several matches, with the cast and without the cast. In 1985, Orton was the #1 contender to the WWF Intercontinental Championship, eventually wrestling then-current champion Tito Santana. Orton was successful in winning in televised matches and events against Santana, but Orton mostly won by either count-out or disqualification. Orton would also be successful in defeating Santana in non-title bouts, but ultimately Santana remained as the champ and eventually Santana got the upper hand in the feud. Orton would also engage in a bitter feud with Jimmy Snuka through 1985 and 1986. Orton, just like with Santana, managed to achieve victories over Snuka but mainly in untelevised shows. Just like his feud with Santana, Snuka would get the upper hand in the feud. Orton was involved in the main event of the very first WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden in 1985, being in the corner of Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff in their match against Hulk Hogan, and Mr. T. Orton accidentally cost his team the match after an attempted cheat backfired, resulting in him hitting Orndorff with the cast. Orton also competed in the main event against WWF champion Hulk Hogan on the premiere episode of Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC broadcast May 11, 1985, which he lost by disqualification due to the interference of Piper. Orton remained with Piper for the remainder of 1985, feuding with Orndorff and a variety of partners, such as Hogan, Andrew Copyright the Giant, and Bruno Sammartino. In early 1986, Orndorff began wearing a cast as a neutralizer and the WWF ordered both men to remove the cast. Also in late 1985 and early 1986, Orton challenged Hogan for the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Like his matches 4 years earlier against Backlund, Orton was not successful. On June 30, at a house show held on Bloomington, Minnesota, Orton and Piper surprisingly scored an upset victory over Orndorff and Hogan, albeit by DQ. This event also would be the first time Orton got a victory over Hogan, as previous matches between them typically saw Hogan winning. Orton was dubbed Boxing Bob and Battling Bob in early 1986 after the cast came off and fought Mr. T at Saturday night's main event, which served as a setup for the Piper Mr. T match at WrestleMania 2. Prior to WrestleMania 2, Boxing Bob Orton defeated Jose Luis Rivera in a boxing match. At WrestleMania, Orton was introduced as Ace in Comedy and Funny Man by guest ring announcer Joan Rivers, who misread the card. Piper and Orton went their separate ways after WrestleMania, with Piper taking a hiatus and Orton in the meantime becoming the bodyguard for Piper's talk segment successor Adorable Adrian Adonis. Adonis had Orton wear a pink cowboy hat. When Piper returned later in 1986 to reclaim his talk show segment, Orton betrayed his longtime friend, sparking a violent feud with Orton and his new partners that typically saw Piper winning. During this time, Orton formed a tag team with the Magnificent Muraco, with the duo managed by Mr. Fuji, and sometimes managed by Jimmy Hart. During their first years as a team, the team of Muraco and Orton was given a fairly decent push, and both were able to easily defeat preliminary wrestlers when not teaming. They appeared at the opening match at WrestleMania 3, losing to the Can-Am Connection. The team of Muraco and Orton also got into a series of matches with the Killer Bees. Both teams exchanged victories at televised events, but ultimately the Bees got the upper hand at untelevised events. Referee Danny Davis would usually disqualify the Bees as a part of his heel gimmick. The team of Orton and Muraco was notable for being the first team to lose to the Young Stallions alongside Tito Santana. By 1987, the team of Muraco and Orton was clearly stepping down the card. While they were still able to defeat preliminary teams, Orton and Muraco would usually find themselves on the losing end upper card teams. Orton and Muraco eventually started arguing during their matches, which also caused them to lose credibility as a team. On September 7, 1987, Orton and Muraco finally faced off at a WWF house show. This match ended in a double disqualification. Though, they still continued to wrestle together some dates more before finally splitting off. Orton and Muraco faced off during the late months of 1987. By this point, the team was essentially disbanded, and the now-turned face The Rock Magnificent Muraco getting the upper hand in the feud. During Orton's feud with Muraco, Mr. Fuji would return to manage Orton. Orton's last televised match and victory as a whole in the WWF came on October 10, 1987, in a heated victory against preliminary wrestler Shiva Afi. Orton's last match with the WWF came on November 7, 1987, where Orton fought preliminary wrestler Sam Houston to a draw in his home state of Missouri. Orton tried to make a comeback to the WWF in 1989, losing to Ted DiBiase in a WWF house show, but no contract was ever offered to him. By 1990, Orton was wrestling for the Arena Wrestling Alliance promotion. As the AWA had an agreement with the WWF to exchange talent, Orton made his last appearances for the WWF until 2005, at 3 house show matches. All taking place in New Zealand. Then Orton would depart from the company for 15 years before returning in 2005. Career after WWF. After leaving the WWF, Orton took a short hiatus from wrestling. He was not present in wrestling until 1988, when Orton traveled to Japan. During this time, he wrestled for All Japan Pro Wrestling. During this period, Orton teamed with his brother Barry Orton, and they formed the team of the Gasper Brothers, and he used the ring name of Billy Gasper. They won several matches together. After the team of the Gasper Brothers, ended, Orton briefly teamed with Dick Murdoch in AJPW. In 1989, Orton returned to the United States, and he wrestled for the then National Wrestling Alliance member, World Championship Wrestling. Orton had a feud with his former partner, Dick Murdoch. Orton defeated Murdoch at Clash of Champions. This started a feud between the two, resulting in both of them interfering in their matches. Murdoch challenged Orton to a bull rope match after he had interfered in one of Orton's matches, in which Orton defeated Trent Knight. He lost to Murdoch at the 1989 Wrestle War in the bull rope match. Shortly after the match, Orton's manager Playboy Gary Hart started brawling with Murdoch, and then Orton attacked Murdoch with the cowbell of the bull rope, and threw him out of the ring, choking him, and attacking the referees that were trying to stop him in the process. In 1990 he appeared in the Five-Star Wrestling Federation in Baton Rouge, which was headed by Grizzly Smith, and that same year, Orton appeared in International World Class Championship Wrestling. In 1991 he wrestled for Herb Abrams' Universal Wrestling Federation at their lone pay-per-view Beach Brawl, as well as their live wrestling special Blackjack Brawl. In the UWF, Orton was awarded the UWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship as well as winning the UWF Southern States Championship from former rival and tag team partner Ron Garvin. Orton lost the UWF Southern States Championship to Paul Orndorff, although Orton was awarded the title back in 1994 when Orndorff left the promotion, vacating the title in the process. In 1994, Orton made a few appearances for Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Wrestling. That same year, Orton wrestled for the American Wrestling Federation, and during his time in the AWF, he was managed by Oliver Humperdinck. Orton challenged Tito Santana for the AWF Championship, with AWF Commissioner Jim Brunzell as the special referee for the match, but Orton lost the match after a flying forearm smash from Santana. During 1995 and 1996 he feuded with Santana. During Orton's time in the AWF, Orton received a big push defeating pure jobbers and mid-carders, being in the main event status, and he was the #1 contender for Santana's AWF Championship in 1996. He won the AWF Championship in his second attempt to win the championship, before losing the championship to Santana that same night in the last round. He had a brief feud in 1997 against Sexy Ace Steel in MVWA in St. Louis. In 1999, he appeared at the Heroes of Wrestling PPV, in which Orton was defeated by former rival Jimmy Snuka, after an interference of Snuka's manager Lou Albano. He retired from full-time active competition in that same year, but has continued to wrestle on a semi-regular basis. In the early 2000s, he would train his son and future WWE wrestler Randy Orton to become a full-time wrestler, while also helping him to gain a contract with the WWF. World Championship Wrestling In early 1989, Orton debuted in the then National Wrestling Alliance member, World Championship Wrestling. During his second WCW run, he took Gary Hart as his manager. Orton had success in the WCW, winning several matches and usually defeating enhancement talent. He had a feud with Dick Murdoch in the NWA WCW. Orton defeated Murdoch at Clash of Champions, and this caused the feud between the two. Murdoch ultimately got the upper hand in the feud, and as the WCW was starting to expand nationally, Orton left the WCW. Independent circuit Orton returned to the ring at Millennium Wrestling Federation's Soul Survivor 2 in 2004, teaming with Todd Hansen and Bo Douglas to defeat the Ugandan giant Kamala, Gino Martino, and Ox Baker's Executioner. On August 9, 2008, Orton performed in South Bend, Indiana, along with Greg the Hammer Valentine. Orton currently works as a performer and co-owner of Tennessee Mountain Wrestling in Knoxville, Tennessee. Most of Orton's current appearances in wrestling saw him performing as a face facing heel opponents. On December 5, 2005, Orton participated in a match against wrestler Dingo. Orton was defeated. On October 17, 2009, Orton performed at Independent Hardcore Wrestling against Bloody Harker Dirge, in a match for the Pro Wrestling Entertainment Championship, losing by disqualification after Nathan attacked Dirge. This occasion marked Nathan Orton's first appearance in a professional wrestling event. In 2009, Orton appeared at the IWC Night of Legends event, performing against former rival Jimmy Snuka. Orton was defeated. In 2009, Orton faced Vance Desmond in the 2009 Winter Wrestling event, promoted by Canadian promotion All Star Wrestling. Orton lost to Desmond, after Orton attempted to do a pile driver, and Desmond reversed the move, finishing the match pinning Orton. This was one of the few times that the crowd saw Orton as a face, as the crowd cheered heavily for him. In 2010, Orton faced fellow legend Bullet Bob Armstrong for the Juggalo Championship wrestling legend and Looney's 2010 event. Orton was defeated by Armstrong despite Orton dominating him most of the match. Orton and Armstrong later showed mutual respect towards each other and embraced in the ring. As both were leaving the ring, both Orton and Armstrong were applauded. On November 19, 2011, Orton appeared in the main event of the Holy Havoc Championship Wrestling card in Springfield, Illinois, teaming with HHCW heavyweight champion Pretty Boy Floyd and Mr. All-Star Rex Gill to defeat the Irish Revolution and Beast. On February 9, 2013, Orton appeared at a traditional championship wrestling event in Jonesboro, Arkansas. He managed and mentored international heavyweight champion Mr. Saturday Night Michael Barry in a feud with his cousin All-At Alan Steele. He also participated in a non-televised dark match at the event when he turned on Barry and aligned himself with the Empire, consisting of Matt Riviera and Golden Boy Greg Anthony, thus turning heel. This team took on Michael Barry, Barrett Brown and John Saxon. The Empire along with Orton lost to Barry, Brown, and Saxon. On June 13, 2013, Orton faced Barrett Brown in a losing effort. On August 16, 2013, Orton and George South faced Tim Horner and Tom Pritchard at the Brad Armstrong Memorial event. Orton and South lost to Horner and Pritchard. Orton and South were the heels during the match, but South eventually tried to turn on Orton by sucker punching him. Orton eventually refused to tag on South, and put him on the superplex, while consolidating his face status. Then he left the ring while seeing Horner pinning South. Bullet Bob Armstrong has said at the beginning of the show Orton was one of the 3 people who helped and made the event possible. Armstrong also admitted he had a real-life heated relationship with Orton until Brad Armstrong died. Since then, their relationship has seemingly got better according to Armstrong, who also started to cry in Brad's name. Orton later consoled Armstrong. On November 16, 2013, Orton teamed up with former rival Harker Dirge, to take on the team of Attitude, Incorporated, Guy Smith and Spencer Powers, in tag team action at the monthly Pro Wrestling Glory Show in Miroir, Illinois. Orton and Dirge won the match after Orton applied his superplex against Powers, resulting in a pinfall. On October 25, 2014, Orton wrestled rival Spotlight Spencer Powers for the Pinfall Wrestling Association PWA heavyweight title at the Jaycees Center in Springfield, Illinois. Orton was defeated. On March 21, 2015, Orton participated in a 6-man tag team match teaming with Ricky Cruz and Red River Jack with Nikolai Volkov as their manager to take on Chris Hargas, Bull Bronson and Attila Khan. Orton's team came victorious. In April 2015, Orton participated in a 2-on-1 handicap match taking on Iron Man Ken Kassa and Travis Cook for the St. Louis Wrestling Promotion. Orton defeated Kassa and Cook after applying an RKO to Kassa. Orton would later sign an autograph for a kid. On May 30, 2015, Orton was the special guest of Pinfall Wrestling Association in Springfield, Illinois at their biggest show of the year, the Grand Wrestling Spectacle v. Orton defeated Bradley Stevens 3 using an RKO. Returned to WWE. On February 3, 2005, Bob Orton was announced as a 2005 inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. In the weeks preceding WrestleMania 21, Orton became entangled in his son Randy's feud with The Undertaker. During an episode of SmackDown, Orton begged The Undertaker to show mercy on his son in order to distract The Undertaker long enough for his son to sneak into the ring and hit the RKO. At WrestleMania, he interfered in the match between Orton and The Undertaker, striking The Undertaker with his cast. On August 21, 2005, at SummerSlam, Orton interfered in a rematch between Randy and The Undertaker, this time enabling his son to defeat The Undertaker. Orton then began accompanying Randy to ringside during his matches, and teamed with his son at No Mercy on October 9, 2005, defeating The Undertaker in a handicap casket match. The Ortons teamed together once again on the October 28, 2005 episode of SmackDown, joining forces with Ken Kennedy to face Roddy Piper, Batista, and Eddie Guerrero in a six-man tag team match. The match ended in defeat for the Ortons when Orton succumbed to Piper's sleeper hold. On the December 16, 2005 episode of SmackDown, Orton disguised himself as one of The Undertaker's druids and carried The Undertaker's signature urn to ringside as The Undertaker came to the ring to confront Randy. Orton remained at ringside after the other druids had left, distracting The Undertaker and enabling Randy to attack him. Orton then handed Randy the urn, which Randy used to knock The Undertaker unconscious. At Armageddon, Orton accompanied Randy to ringside for his Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker. He interfered in the match several times, but was ultimately unable to prevent The Undertaker from delivering a tombstone piledriver to both Ortons and then covering Randy for the win. On February 13, 2006, Orton was released from WWE. Orton made an appearance on the November 15, 2010 episode of WWE Raw as the show went old school, with appearances from past WWE wrestlers, announcers and other on-air personalities. He also appeared on the April 10, 2012 episode of WWE SmackDown and was attacked by Kane, who had been feuding with his son Randy at the time. In 2014, journalist Bill Apter interviewed Orton. He gave his thoughts on his son, Randy, WrestleMania 30, and some other current WWE performers. Filmography: Tweak the Heat, 2005/06. Personal life: Orton is married to Elaine Orton, a nurse at Christian Hospital NE in Missouri, and they have two sons, Randy, Nathan, and a daughter, Becky. Robert and Elaine also adopted a child from Puerto Rico now named Robert Orton III. Orton III is considered one of the top prospects for the 2015 Major League Baseball draft. As a junior, Orton III verbally committed to St. Louis University to play college baseball. Orton now lives in Florissant, Missouri. Orton and Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig were very close friends. His first grandchild was born on July 12, 2008, when son Randy and his now ex-wife Samantha had their first child, a daughter, Alana, therefore making him a new grandfather. On an episode of WWE Confidential, he admitted that his forearm injury in the 1985 match with Jimmy Snuka was not a work, and did not heal when he wore the cast. It wouldn't heal fully until he left the WWF in 1987. Orton has claimed he was the inventor of one of the moves he used as a finisher during his time as an active competitor, the superplex. Orton was also diagnosed with hepatitis C as a teenager. During Randy Orton's Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker at Armageddon 2005, Orton was cut open at the hands of The Undertaker, though The Undertaker did not become infected with a hepatitis C virus. Orton reportedly told WWE booker John Laurinaitis that he had hepatitis C, but Laurinaitis still ordered the beating to take place despite knowing that there was a chance The Undertaker would become infected with a hepatitis C virus. Many wrestlers, fans, and critics alike praise Orton's ability in the ring, including fellow wrestlers such Jim Brunzell and Lanny Poffo have all praised Orton's ability. Around 1986, Orton was involved in an incident in Fresno, California, where the Fresno Police Department were called for an incident involving Orton and Roddy Piper in a hotel. Orton would end up naked and drunk in the roof of the hotel and would be shot 3 times with the policemen's tasers, according to Orton himself. In wrestling, finishing moves, forearm smash or club with an arm cast, piledriver adopted from his father, superplex, sleeper hold. Signature moves, backhand chop, bulldog, hard right hand, vertical suplex, running crossbody, suplex, snap suplex, back body drop, elbow drop, chop, slingshot, bionic elbow, power slam. Managers: Paul E. Dangerously Mr. Fuji, The Grand Wizard of Wrestling, Gary Hart, Jimmy Hart, Sir Oliver Humperdinck, Adnan El Cassi, John Tolos, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Randy Orton, Roddy Piper, Izzy Zlapovitz. Wrestlers managed: Randy Orton. Nicknames: Ace Cowboy Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton, Jr. Entrance themes: Ride Stallion Ride, theme from Bonanza. Championships and accomplishments: American Wrestling Federation, AWF Heavyweight Championship. Central States Wrestling Alliance, CSWA Heavyweight Championship. Championship Wrestling from Florida, NWA Florida Heavyweight Championship, NWA Florida Tag Team Championship, with Bob Orton and Bob Roop. International Championship Wrestling, ICW Southeastern Heavyweight Championship, ICW Southeastern Tag Team Championship, with Bob Roop and Barry Orton. Arturo Hernandez Carver, ICW Television Championship. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, NWA World Tag Team Championship, with Don Knodel. Mid-South Sports Georgia Championship Wrestling, NWA Georgia Junior Heavyweight Championship, NWA Georgia Tag Team Championship, with Mr. Wrestling 2 and Dick Slater, NWA Macon Tag Team Championship, with Dick Slater. Mid-South Wrestling, Mid-South Mississippi Heavyweight Championship. Midwest Powerhouse Wrestling, MPW Heavyweight Championship. Powerhouse Championship Wrestling, PCW Heavyweight Championship. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI Rookie of the Year tied with Anthony Garcia. PWI ranked him number 121 of the 500 best singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 2003. Old School Wrestling Alliance, OSWA Heavyweight Championship. Southeastern Championship Wrestling, NWA Southeastern Tag Team Championship, with Bob Roop, Ron Garvin, and Jerry Blackwell. Universal Wrestling Federation, UWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, UWF Southern States Championship. World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE Hall of Fame. Other titles: Views Television Championship. References. External links. WWE Hall of Fame Profile, Solis Title Histories, Bob Orton at Online World of Wrestling.